Well, welcome in everyone to our career meetup for careers in health systems administration grads, led by our friends from FlexCare Medical Staffing. Today we have with us Lindsay Forbes and Tasha Bowie. So I'm going to turn it over to them. If you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them during the presentation, or throw them in the chat and we'll get them out that way. So Lindsay, Tasha, thank you so much for being here and leading our meetup.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us as well. And we're going to go through kind of a little bit of a presentation on FlexCare and really dive into one of the roles that we have open, especially there in our Charlotte office, that we've had a lot of success with people from the health administration degree, both from UNC Charlotte and schools all over the country. It kind of combines a little bit of sales, but also that healthcare and the kind of administrative back end piece. So it's been a really good transition for us. But like Jay said, if you guys have questions along the way, feel free to stop us, or we'll do kind of a question and answer session after the presentation. Let me see if I can get this shared. Start. All right, so this is just a little kind of what it's like working at FlexCare. Something our marketing team put together. We have been best place to work out in the Sacramento office for several years in a row. So that was just kind of a snippet of what our company culture is like here.
Not again. All right, so just a little history on FlexCare with all these pictures kind of starting out on the left-hand side. So in the beginning, we were founded in 2006. The 2007 picture is the really tiny closet size, basically, office we started in. And then kind of moving through, you can see that progression over the first couple of years. And then present day, Roseville, California, that's where we are currently located and calling from. That's our sales floor. It's where the most noise is. It's where all of our recruiters, account managers are, lots of music, TVs, metrics going on. It's a really extremely energetic area for our sales floor. And then you can see our Roseville team, obviously a lot bigger than Charlotte. Charlotte had opened up in 2018. So we're slowly, well, now quickly growing our Charlotte team in that office as well.
We just moved up onto, and I believe this picture here of the views that we have from our office. Our office is in the Midtown area over by Trader Joe's, but we are now on the 6th floor of that building. So we've got an amazing view of that skyline there. So the different departments that we have, we like to just kind of give everyone an overview of the entire company. Right now for the Charlotte office, the biggest position that we hire for is a recruiter position. So with us, the recruiter role, if you guys are not familiar with that, we basically place healthcare travelers on different assignments all over the country. So our recruiters really act as one point of contact for all of their contractors. And so you get to really be with them throughout the entire process. So you get that sales piece in the beginning of just really selling yourself as a recruiter and kind of why you versus other companies and why FlexCare. But then you get to work with them throughout the process of getting compliance. So you're kind of learning that administrative piece, some of the HR piece. So while they're working on assignment, you are that one point of contact again. So if there are issues that come up, you get a little bit of kind of a taste of HR experience with any coaching or counseling that they need to have if there's issues. If they have any issues with the facility that they're at, you get to work with our account management team and really kind of do some creative problem solving there. But so for that Charlotte office, we have our travel nursing division, and the travel nursing division is our biggest team. It's our bread and butter. It's really what we started the company placing, is those registered nurses. So we have recruiters, and then we also have account managers who are kind of on the client side. So they are the liaison between our clients, which are the hospitals, and then the recruitment team. So you get to work a lot with them. And then we do have an allied health division. It's a newer team for us. So they're placing, it's a similar concept as far as the type of people you're placing. It's just that instead of placing registered nurses, you're placing allied health professionals. So that's as you guys know, a big bucket. It could be anything from x-ray techs to physical therapists, speech language pathologists. So currently that allied team is out in the corporate office here in the Sacramento area in California. But one day we may expand that out to Charlotte as well. And then we have our operations and finance. So kind of your standard departments. We have our HR, internal recruitment, which is the team that Tasha and I are on, finance, payroll, all of that. And one of the other cool things about being a recruiter with us is you do get to work with a lot of these other teams. So you do get to learn a little bit about payroll and the process and billing, and like I mentioned, HR. So you really get a taste of kind of the entire company.
All right, and then these are our FlexCare core values. So this is something that one of our account managers kind of came up with after the executives represented most of our most important core values that we have. So it's team player, humble, integrity, strategic, resourceful, accountable, and driven. So obviously an easy and cheesy way to remember this is rad. But these are really values that we're looking for when we're looking for candidates and interviewing. You know, giving promotions or awards out at work, we're always kind of reflecting back on what do our employees represent the most, if not one or all of these values. So it's just always something that we're looking for when, you know, people are joining our family and our team here. So very important. You'll always hear these if you get lucky to join our team one day.
And something to point out, I think, especially with our recruiter role, is this is a great position, especially for people that are just coming out of college and may not have, you know, a lot of experience. We actually don't necessarily look for people that have a lot of recruiting specific experience, just because we have a phenomenal training program that we are very confident in. And we have found through the years that what matters and what kind of makes a more successful recruiter is people that have these core values and share these with us versus someone who doesn't share these values but does have a lot of experience. And our culture is something that we're incredibly protective of. We're very proud of the culture that we've built, but we're also very protective of it. So we would, you know, almost generally hire people without experience that share these values over someone that does have experience. And then speaking of our training program, so just a little bit of kind of an insight into the training that we do. And training is something that's very, very important to us. We feel like we're not a company that really brings people in and gives you kind of a, you know, a training binder or manual, shows you to your desk and says, good luck to you. We don't feel like that sets people up for success. And from the moment we make a decision to hire someone and bring them into the FlexCare family, we're all completely 100% committed to their success. So recruiter training with us, the first week is kind of classroom training. It's definitely a lot of information that we're trying to impart to you during that week, but it is very thorough. And then from there, that second week that you're with us, you get on the phones and kind of get to jump right into doing the job. But while you are out there jumping into doing the job, you're going to have multiple leads, supervisors, anyone around you to be a good resource for you. So although you do start jumping in that second week, you're not out there alone. So we do some different workshops along the way as well, especially those first 2 to 3 months, to just kind of train on some of the pieces that you don't necessarily need to know quite up front when you start out. We also have a mentor program, and this is something that we have always had in the California office, but I'm very excited to say that we've rolled it out and are now doing a mentor program with the recruiters that are in our Charlotte office. So you are kind of buddied up or assigned to someone who's a senior recruiter. Usually it's someone that is in our Leaders in Training program, and that is just really another layer of support for you. It is about a 3-month formal program where they are doing check-ins with you, kind of some different topics that they cover, but they're also somebody that you can go to if you come up with a situation and you've not experienced it and you want another take on it. They are people that can listen in on your phone calls with you to kind of help master the talk tracks that you're doing with the different candidates. We also do different book talks, which is kind of like a book club, a business book club, if you will. We've done anything from motivational books to kind of honing in on your sales skills to, team books, and then also leadership books as well.
No Harry Potter, no fantasy.
No Harry Potter, no fantasy, that's correct.
We do get asked that question.
Yes. So professional book talks, but any topics that you want, just kind of another way to continue to have people learning. And then we did just last year launch a very kind of a more in-depth leadership in training program, as well as just we call it our FlexCare University, which is our official professional development program. Don't know how many of you are familiar. Is anyone out there familiar with LinkedIn Learning? If so, or if not, I highly recommend it. And it is something that you can actually, there's availability on the free side of things, but we give all of our employees from day one access to the paid LinkedIn Learning membership, basically. And that is just a ton. There's thousands and thousands of basically self-guided videos and courses that you can go through. And it's topics, literally anything from how to bake a cake to, computer coding, things like that. So we have some different curated courses that we recommend people go through, and then we utilize it a lot with our leadership training. But really, it's something you can use for whatever it is that you want to learn. So just another avenue. And then a couple of those additional compensation incentives. So the recruiter position with us it's a base pay, and then we have a commission structure based on basically the number of people you have working out there for you. And a couple of the exciting incentives that we have, one is we call it our quick start bonus. And that is for people, if you come in and you hit a certain number of clinicians on contract, so you place a certain number of people working for you by your 10th month, then you get a $4,000 bonus. And then we have another very exciting, it's called our President's Club. And that is just based on the number of, if you qualify for that, it's based on how many people you have working for you. But if you qualify for that, then you and a guest get an all expense paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. And it's something that our executives, some of our owners go to. And so it's just another way to say thank you. And that's for you and a guest. So very exciting. We just did our announcement on who's going for that last week. So everybody's very excited. And then this is another kind of document we put together as a team several years ago, but we wanted to be able to explain and kind of relay what our culture is to people who've never been to our office or never really interacted with us. So it's a little bit silly, like kind of playing off of our "this is rad, we are nothing if not, we think we are a bunch of comedians here." So just something we put together. So mullet staffing model just means, we work really hard. We all do work really hard, but we can also have fun while we're doing it. Number two, again, we all think we're stand-up comedians, but that's a play off of, and we have those hydraulic stand-up desks. So that's always a good thing. If you are somebody that doesn't want to sit at a desk all day, we can stand up, sit down. You can also, we've got people that, sit on the exercise ball. So whatever it is that you need to make yourself comfortable and active, we provide that. Our Jedi training, I referred to the training program, but it's just definitely one of, if not the most thorough trainings in, I think, the entire staffing industry as a whole. And then number 4, don't stop believing. It's something that's really cool to see is that every employee here is really on board, and we're all kind of rowing towards the same goal, which is if FlexCare does well, then we know that individually we're all going to do well. So there's not a lot of that cutthroat mentality that you'll often have in a sales environment, which I think is something we're really lucky for. Number 5, reigning Benjamins. Obviously, we have a pretty aggressive commission structure with our recruiters and our account managers, and we just feel like if somebody's going to put in that extra work, then we're going to reward you for that, and not just with some thank yous, which are also nice, but you get that. If you are looking to buy a home, anything like that, you're in charge of what your pay is going to be essentially. Number 6, flat organizational chart. Another thing that we do is just seek feedback from every level. It's not a situation where we only are looking at ideas from our senior leaders or executives or our owners. It's something that if anyone has an idea, whether you've been here one day or, since day one, we want to hear it. Number 7, success over seniority. This is another cool thing with us is we almost exclusively promote from within, especially for our recruitment team. There's not one person in a leadership role on our recruitment team or our account management team who were brought in as a manager. Everyone has come in and kind of come up through the ranks, started from the bottom, if you will. But it's not a situation where you also have to be here for a certain amount of time. If you come in and you're killing it at your job and you have incredible leadership skills, then we are people that are going to promote you. So it's like, it's not a situation where you haven't been here for, 12 months, you can't be eligible for a promotion. That's just not the way that we operate. And then the eighth one there, series without the suits. We have a pretty business casual dress code in normal times. We've adjusted it, and I would say it's more of a COVID casual these days, but we just really want everyone to be their authentic self and come in. And the reason that we bring people in is because of their personality and who they are. And we don't want you to feel like you have to, put on a show or come in a suit and just to impress each other. We want everyone to come in and feel like they can be comfortable and be as professionally comfortable and unique and authentic as they can.
All right. Well, this is a picture of Lindsay and I, and then our other business partner, Lindsay. Her name is also Lindsay York. So this is when we went, what year? 2019? Mm-hmm. Yes. We were awarded #1. So that's us holding up our #1 finger. Awarded best places to work in Sacramento last 6 years running. But in 2019, that was when we were awarded #1. Obviously, now you get a really good feel for our culture and just what we represent. So this was a big accomplishment for us, and just to be represented in that way, I think it stood out a lot to future candidates. Just us as a company, it makes us really proud that we were able to achieve something like that. So just like to show off our awards that we have. We literally have an award wall. So that's what that other picture is there. And then we are definitely big on giving back to our communities, both Charlotte and Sacramento areas. When I started personally, I was probably a couple days in and I already got to volunteer at one of the children's hospitals. So in the corner, or bottom right corner, you'll see what we call go-karts. These are basically mobile gaming systems for kids or adults that are in hospitals that want to play video games but maybe have to stay in the bed. So we donate a few of those, and we'll go and hang out with the kids and just kind of play games with them. So that was a really cool experience, especially being brand new to a company, and being able to just come in and experience that right away was life-changing. But we are always doing things, whether it's company events or not. We always are just looking to see what we can do for our communities. We do give 8 hours paid time off a year to volunteer. So we always, encourage it, whether it's yourself or kind of getting a group of employees together. We've done a lot of different things. And of course, I'm blanking on all the ones that we've done. We've done triathlons, marathons, the go-karts. We do a Christmas, I don't know what to call it.
Adopt a family. So
Yes.
basically, through Salvation Army, at least out here in California, but basically it's a family that isn't able to provide a Christmas for their adults and the children in the family. So we adopt them. We as a company all get together and we basically spoil them rotten and give them a pretty amazing Christmas.
All right. And then as far as just some of the benefits offered by FlexCare, I think this is another, important thing when you're looking for a new job. So we do have different Anthem options that you can choose from. So medical, dental, and vision all start the first of the month following your start date with us. So it's really nice that there's not a huge waiting period. I know some people will wait about 90 days, but we know it's important to be covered. So making sure that you guys get that right away. And then we also provide a flexible spending and dependent care account. So kind of a tax deferred savings. If you know that you have some large medical or childcare needs that you're projecting, you can have some money in that account, save some money. And then we do have a 401k retirement plan. That is 6 months after you start with us. So that's the only thing that's a little bit more of a waiting period. And then we do have a PTO program. We basically just lump your sick and vacation time into one bank, and you start accruing that right when you start with us. You can go into a little bit of a negative balance if something comes up and you're brand new. We understand that things happen, so there is that possibility. But over time, you'll go from 13 days a year to 15 days. So every year after your 2 years of service with us, you'll get more PTO, which is always a good thing. And then we have 8 paid holidays, kind of just basic holidays. We do have Christmas Eve and the day after Thanksgiving off, which we absolutely love. And then we also added a floating holiday. We do call it a holiday, even though it's pretty much basically an extra PTO day. You have to use it, for government or religious holiday. It could be your birthday. It could be National Cat Day. It could be National Wine Day, like whatever you feel like is important to you on that day, you can also use that. And then the last one, just like I had mentioned before, we do give 8 hours paid time off a year to volunteer any organization that you want to, just again, to give back to the community and kind of spread awareness of what's important to us.
All right, and then this is just some kind of advice that we put together. I know it can be very scary and daunting, especially right now with just kind of the state of the world when you are graduating, getting ready to start your actual career search. But so network. I think that's one thing that we have found, that we get the best candidates from doing things like this, networking with different schools. Also people that LinkedIn is a huge resource that we utilize to kind of find people on. But when you are looking at any company, something that you can do to really impress the company and let them know your interest and your level of interest and kind of what type of employee you're going to be, do your research. And that goes beyond just getting on their website and, kind of getting the basics. Jump on all their different social media, follow them. And it's a way for you to really determine if it's a kind of company that you want to work for as well. Because during that interview process, it's as much, the company interviewing you as it is you interviewing the company. And then also kind of get to know the culture of each company. That's something that I think really you can only find by doing some research on social media, things like that, and just really, look at reviews of employees, current and past, and just really get a feel for what their culture is and what they stand for. Always come prepared, especially if you are in an interview situation, always come prepared with questions. If you even have a generic list of questions, that is a better situation to be in than not having any questions for the people that you're interviewing for. Some ideas of that is just kind of what positions they have available, what positions and projects they have that they're looking at in the future, what they think makes a great candidate, things like that. Another thing I always like to suggest to people is if you are doing multiple, if there's multiple interviews that you are going through with one company, it's a great idea to ask the same question of everyone that you interview with. Make sure that everyone is on the same page and that it's an authentic answer that you're getting. And then really just show your personality. Like we mentioned before, we hire people more for their personality and their core values than we do for, technical experience. So talk about your goals, your aspirations, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. Talk about what motivates you, both professionally and personally. What do you want to gain out of your next job? Where is this job going to take you? And kind of what are you looking for in a company? I think it's also very important to share that with whatever company it is you're looking at.
Find your why.
Yes.
And then as far as just kind of ideal FlexCare candidate, Lindsay kind of already touched on this and just throughout the presentation, but we always like to a reminder of this is rad. Told you we always kind of go back to that. Very work hard, play hard culture, if you couldn't already tell. Drive and determination to win, I think, are huge things I'm always looking for when I'm interviewing. If you have the drive and determination to find yourself success and win, and whether you're competitive or you want to do it for your family, for yourself, just having that drive and the motivation will get you really far. And then just being focused, committed to those goals, and then creating a disciplined routine with but adaptable and coachable. So it's nice to know that, eventually you'll get used to your role as a recruiter. If you were to get that position with us, you'll find your routine, you'll get used to your role, but it's also good at the beginning to be open-minded, take in all of that training and the resources that we have. That's why we provide such a great training environment, and we want to make sure that you're supported and have mentors and anything that's going to get you up and running. And then eventually, you'll have more of a disciplined routine, what you find works best for you. But these are all just things that we're always looking for throughout the interview process. I think getting an idea of what we're looking for always helps to get people to express their interests more too. So that's why we love doing these presentations. We do a presentation during our interview process. It's just nice to know that, okay, this is a company I really want to work for. I can see myself long-term, kind of puts your transferable skills a little bit more into play.
Something we are almost thorough to a fault sometimes, as you're probably realizing with our presentation, but for us, like I mentioned earlier, you're interviewing the company that you are meeting with just as much as they should be interviewing you. So you want somebody that's going to be transparent. And I would rather give someone too much information and make sure that the job, the company is a great match on both sides than to have someone ever come in and feel like they were, for lack of a better word, bamboozled, or, just kind of given one idea of what a job or the company that they're getting into, and then they come in and find out it's not for them. I wouldn't be able to do this job if that was how we operated. All right, so that is our presentation.
Well, excellent. So again, if you all have questions, feel free to unmute and ask them aloud, or you can put them in the chat and we will relay them to our presenters.
I was like, I think I saw some chat things coming up.
Yes, Jay, the mullet staffing model is my favorite piece of our 8 things we know to be true.
Yeah, that's a very cool one. I've got a quick one just to talk about, if you can. What can students do to stand out on their resume? Just on that basic line, if they don't have a chance to meet you in a setting like this and they're going to apply to something, what keywords, stuff like that do y'all look for?
Yeah, I think especially if you don't have a ton of what you feel might be relatable experience, really looking at anything that's given you any kind of leadership or any of those soft skills that we look for that you can point out, whether that's involvement in a fraternity or sorority or a club or any kind of extracurricular activities that you're juggling while you're juggling all of your courses and things like that, and really just show that you can manage not only going to school and the homework and whatever extracurricular activities you have. I think making it I don't want to say a flashy format, but just making it a little bit more of a jazzy format. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but making sure it looks good from whether it's a formatting, make sure your fonts are all those tips and tricks that everyone always tells you. Those are things that we look at, making sure fonts match, sizes match, if you can keep it to 1 or 2 pages. But if you're struggling for things to put on there, I've seen some great resumes that will, if they don't have a lot of experience, we'll just go through and maybe think about your top 5 soft skills that you have. So maybe you're somebody who's played sports, you're very coachable. So kind of going into almost a mission statement with those different soft skills that you have and really just going into detail on that.
I think something that we always point out too, we usually talk about this during our presentation, during an interview process, is one of our top recruiters that we've had for years. She started with us as an elementary school teacher. And that's going into, thinking about our recruiter sales positions. People always think, oh, I don't have those skills and my resume is not going to stand out. And I always have to explain to people, like, there are so many transferable skills, no matter what you're doing, whether you haven't worked, you have, maybe it was, in your eyes, just a server position, but anything that you're doing, there's something to gain out of it. But if you don't put it on your resume, we won't know unless, you basically put it on there. So it doesn't really truly matter what you've done, as long as you're projecting the things that you've done in school or volunteering. There's always something to be talked about and why you did it and what you gained out of it. So we always like to point that. I think people get really nervous, like, oh, I don't have any experience, and oh, I've only been a bartender. Like, what is that for a recruiter sales role? And it's not true.
Yeah, speaking to specifically server or bartender type roles, we actually have a lot of recruiters who come to us from that background. And some of the things, just for an example, people who are able to translate to us, well, I was a bartender, I supervised, and at the end of the night, I had to have a lot of difficult conversations with people who maybe needed to get in a cab or things like that. And so just really thinking through what you do on a daily basis, those skill sets that you've learned, and then translate that into how it fits the role that you're looking for or that you're applying for.
Great answer to dealing with difficult customers or clients. I feel like everyone has experienced that in their job. So even just simple things like that, putting drunk people in cabs, it's like, yeah, why would you think to talk about that? But honestly, that is a lot of work.
Yeah,
in itself, retail, like all of those things are pretty crazy. So it's even things that you probably might not think about. Write them down, really study them, look at the job description too, and kind of like see, okay, this is what looking for how could my examples and my experience transfer, and then you'll be a little bit more prepared, you know, and you'll cut out that nervousness a little bit of like, oh, I really have to think about this. I think writing it out for me personally is always a good thing. So job description, resume, it all kind of ties together in the end. But
yeah, and kind of piggyback off of that as well. I'm always highly, highly impressed when it shows that they have taken the time to think about what it is they actually are doing. And even if group presentations is another thing that we get as an example of a really challenging time. I mean, not even just group projects. You have so many different personalities, especially if you've been the person that's kind of trying to wrangle or herd the cats, if you will. Just really thinking about how that can translate, and it shows your interest in the position in the company, because it just shows that you put that extra time and thought into how is my skill set transferable, and also how am I going to be happy in this job or this role.
I also thought of another thing. So I get a lot of questions or maybe concerns. It gets brought up that people are shy or introverted, and it is hard to go from maybe a classroom setting to work. And I think it's just something that is understandable in any work environment. I think we've gotten all sorts of personalities, especially when I think about the recruiter role. I'm thinking about our newest class that's coming in. I'm like, yeah, every single person is so different from each other. We've gotten people that are about to talk on the phone pretty much all the time while they're at work, and they used to be the most introverted, shy person. So really putting yourself out there and being open during that training process is always great. So don't feel bad if you are a shy, introverted person. I think people get discouraged when they think about, oh, I got an interview and I don't know how to talk about myself. So I think it's something that's important. We as interviewers always want to make sure that we make people feel comfortable. I think we've done a really good job at that over, you know, the last few years, but it's also on your end just something good to know that it's okay to be a little bit more shy.
Yeah. And I think a little inside track, especially if you are somebody who's never done interviews before and been on the interviewer side. I can very clearly remember the first few interviews that I conducted, and I was in that seat, and I promise you, it is not comfortable for the person doing the interview on the other side either. It's just not a natural setting. So give yourself some grace, remember that. And I think when people have, you know, stumbled in the past or they have nerves, then I love when people say, you know what, I'm really sorry, I'm really nervous. Can I just start over? And, you know, just acknowledge it. We're all human. And if that's something that turns off an interviewer, that may not be, you know, the type of culture or company that you're looking for anyway.
I do these presentations more often now. And if you had asked me even like a couple of years ago if I would be doing this, no way. And I just had to do it. I just put myself out there. I still hate public speaking. It's not fun. I don't think really most people do, unless you really love talking about yourself or talking about, you know, something, but it's still nerve-wracking. We understand that. And I think a lot of people do, whether they say that or not, that you're interviewing with. So I think it's just something important. So don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. It's really good advice to give too. I was trying to like read. I have my glasses on and I still can't even see the whole chat.
You're good. Y'all covered a lot of things. There's one thing I'd like to ask specifically though. When you're in the interview and you're going through those behavioral or situational type questions, what is a common mistake you see people make when they're answering their STAR method or PAR method stuff?
I think the biggest is not having a very specific example. I'd rather have somebody that has a specific example that might not be exactly related to the question that I've asked, but it just shows that you are giving that thought, you're really taking it seriously, versus someone that gives me, you know, just a very broad answer. Well, in that situation, generally, how do you handle a difficult customer? Well, in that situation, you know, generally I hear them out, and just not being specific. Those questions are designed to give us specific answers, and for us as interviewers to be able to pull out the information that we're looking to get from a candidate, that we don't want to specifically say, you know, tell me how you'd handle it if your coworker went in and ate your lunch out of the fridge, something like that. But it's just we're looking for how you've handled situations that you're going to handle, that you're going to run into in the job with us. So we want to know how you've handled them in the past. So again, even if it's not you might not think it's a completely relatable situation, just be as specific as you can with what the problem was, what steps you took to fix it, and what the outcome was. Kind of keep it simple.
And I think that is in comparison to like what we were talking about being shy, or maybe you're like, okay, Lindsay and Tasha told me to do this, but I don't I don't know what examples to give. I still don't really know what to say, even though I know what I should probably say. I think writing it down is the most important thing. Whether you have it in front of you or not, obviously you're not going to read off of a piece of paper during your interview, but just you'll remember it a lot better. I think that was something that helped me. I was a nervous wreck before. I mean, I still probably would be if I ever interviewed anywhere else, but I'm not going to because I love FlexCare. But I think just like I remember always just like writing everything out. I remember writing out all of my skills, the things that stand out, not what they want to hear, what I actually have experienced in my own way. And even though I didn't think because I was so nervous I was going to remember anything, I still would go in the interview and go, oh, okay, I remember, writing this skill about myself. So that's why I'm just kind of going back to what I was saying. I think it's just great to write things out, especially if you're a visual person. It will help you when your nerves kick in. And it's okay, again, if you're really nervous and you're like, I'm so sorry, I just got really nervous. I just need a second to think about my answer. It's better than giving too generic. Like, just take your time thinking about it. And then if you think about it later in your interview, be like, hey, I really just, I was thinking about that more. Do you want to go back to that question that you asked? Maybe it kicks in later, or you leave the interview and you're like, that would have been a better answer. But there's always ways to follow up and be like, I'm sorry, I was a little bit nervous, but this is, what I actually probably wanted to say or was trying to get out.
And it never fails. I think we will ask people any more questions, or, they might have questions, and absolutely at the very end of the interview, you cannot for the life of you think of it. I think it's always okay. We tell people this, it's always okay to reach back out after your interview. If it's a question, if it's something that you feel like you wish you would have expressed better. I was thinking, like Tasha mentioned, if, I was thinking about that question, I feel like this is a better answer. Always okay to reach back out after the fact.
Excellent advice. Any other questions from our attendees?
Hi, yes, I did have a question. And thank you guys so much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question is there, room for people to move up from, a recruiter position, just to kind of go forward? So far, what I've heard, it seems like people would want us to be here, and that this is where they would really want to be. So just wondering kind of how that works and if that's possible.
Yeah. And that's, we absolutely love people that want to come in, move up, and there's a ton of different ways that you can move up. So within just the recruiter role, there's, we have tiers. So there's different titles that you would get. And it's basically kind of, as you get more understanding, as you have more people out there working for you, then you would go from recruiter in training to recruiter, senior recruiter. And so there's levels that direction. We also then, our leaders in training program is designed specifically for people who want to get into a leadership role. And that's whether it's in recruitment or some of the other directions that people have gone out of a recruiter role with us. We have people that have gone to, the operations side of the business. We also have a lot of people who will go over to our client relations or into maybe an account manager role where you're dealing more of the client side. And then they have that same type of progression. And so outside of the tiers that we have for recruiter, there's different levels for leadership. So there's a resource role where it's just kind of just basically acting as a resource for questions, things like that. And then there's a team lead, and then we have a lead and a supervisor. So we have a lot of tiers as I'm talking out loud and thinking this through. We have a lot of tiers for every role that we have because we want people to be able to not only have that growth, but to be able to see the things that they need to do to get to that next level. And my best advice for new people coming in is always share with your supervisors, even if it's from day one and things change, but what are your progression? What is your goal? Do you want to be in leadership? Let people know that. They'll help you get onto that path. Are you somebody that, like Kasha mentioned, our top recruiter who started as a school teacher? She's somebody that just wanted to come in, get through all those tiers, and she's in, the highest recruiter tier that we have. She just wants to remain we call it an individual contributor. So absolutely, that's something that you want to share as well, because those people, as much as they may not be in a formal leadership role, they're absolutely mentors to other people. So tons of room to move up. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm so proud of the fact that none of our people in a leadership role, be it the from the resource all the way up to our VP and our senior VP of our recruitment team, all started as a recruiter.
I wanted to share my example too. So Lindsay had found me on LinkedIn before I started with FlexCare. So I've been here for over 3 years now. And I actually started in the HR department, but it was funny because after interviewing with Lindsay, I was like, wait, I kind of want to join your team because I had done recruitment and HR. So I was like, okay, I definitely want this HR role. But I think I pretty much expressed to her like right when I started that I was like, I want to be on your team one day. And it did take some time to get approved and just waiting for the growth in the company. And it was a position that obviously wasn't even open, but we maybe were hoping that it would. I think it was maybe a year and a half.
Too long.
She called, yeah, too long. And she called me from downstairs and I was upstairs and she was like, ready to come over? And I was like, yep. So it's nice. I think I'm just sharing that because although that's an operations side, it's the same thing for a lot of different positions. But I spoke up, I asked to get training in certain areas. I'm like, how can I help out? Those little things add up. And Lindsay obviously remembered me because I was like, hi, like more work.
Yeah.
And then it kind of faded a little bit because they were handling it really well. And then, you know, the phone call happened and it was very unexpected. And I just remember being so excited to finally be on the team. I found my, you know, role here. I loved FlexCare no matter what I was doing, but you know, you find your true passion, you don't know. Sometimes you'll get in the recruiter role. Maybe you thought, oh, I'm going to be a lead. I'd like to be a manager one day. And maybe you get into it and then you're like a Jen, who's our top recruiter. And you're just like, no, I kind of like just making money and doing my thing, being a little bit independent. Like that's okay too. You don't really know until you're in it. What team that you want to work with or what you think, you know, will reach your goals. So just speak up, especially if you're shy or introverted, it's okay. But that's the only way that, you know, they're going to know what you want or how they can help you get to where you need to be.
From a manager perspective as well, I mean, if you tell your manager and your leads, then you, number one, you're kind of always interviewing. And so it's going to give you a leg up when the time comes and there is a role open. I will tell you, it saved me a ton of time, work, heartache. Even I didn't even have to open the position when I had the approval for it. I just literally, I knew that I had been kind of watching Tasha, the way that she handled herself, and she basically had interviewed the first year and a half. And so it does save everybody a lot of time. And it's somebody that you know is going to be trusted and that they want that job too.
And be patient. I know it's hard, but like coming from me, I was like, all right, a few months, like any update? She's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, how about now? And she's like, nope. And then I finally kind of probably stopped asking or just was like very casual about it. But you know, I knew I was eventually going to find myself here. I think it's amazing that I'm here talking to everybody and doing what I'm doing as much as I hate public speaking, but it's just been cool. So I think the patience part of it is a huge thing too. Like, although we are big on growth, and this could be at any company, you know, I think just being patient and just being like, I'm here for the long haul. I just want you to know that this is where I want to be one day. We're going to make it happen. It's just sometimes things happen, pandemics happen, random things that maybe stop hiring or some people, you know, get sick, whatever it may be. Just be patient along the way. But the right company will definitely provide, you know, your the right training and get you to where you want to be.
Lindsay and Tasha, we are at time, so thank y'all both so much for great information. What's the best way for folks to follow you, keep up with you, and I can go ahead and tell you, look for their jobs in Hire Niner. They've got them posted there, but other ways that they can connect with you.
Yeah, definitely. I would connect with each of us on LinkedIn. I'm Lindsay Forbes and Tasha Bowie. You can also go to at FlexCare Medical Staffing, I think it is, .com, or I'm sorry, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and then our website is just www.flexcarestaff.com. And there is a careers page at the bottom, but great information about who we are as a company as well on all of those avenues.
And no matter what position you apply for, if you do end up on our careers page, it'll take you to the opportunities email that we have. So that way it will get to us eventually in some way. So no matter how you try to find us, you'll find us.
That is fantastic. Yeah, Lindsay's going to put that in the chat for us there. So once again, thank y'all so much for all being here. And we'll let you get that in that chat. And then
we'll get that in there just 1 second.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's different not seeing everyone's faces or being in person, but these have been really great for us to do, and always good to connect and network as much as you can, like we were talking about.
All right. So there's the
There it is.
FlexCare one, and you can find each of us through that as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all again for being here, and everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.